Thanks for staying with us. The time now is 8:43, and this week we've got another guest recipe for you. This one from right here inside our own newsroom. Here's Brittany's Bites.
We are back today with another guest recipe, this one from within the newsroom. Tracy Townsend sent this idea over, and as soon as I saw the word Bundt in the recipe, I was sold. You know how I love to make a Bundt cake. This one is a fresh strawberry Bundt cake. So yeah, it still has some sugar and butter in it, but it has fresh fruit, it has yogurt, it has fresh lemon and lemon zest. So let's give it a shot. I have 2 1/4 cup flour, a 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon salt. And I'm basically gonna sift this in. And this ensures that you get all of those lumps out, right? And then it makes for a nice, light and fluffy cake. Okay. It's a little messy, but we got through it. Now, once I got that sifted in here, then I'm going to put in the zest of 1 lemon. I already did the zesting there. I wanna make sure I get all of that out. And then I'm gonna mix this together. And this is sort of gonna be the dry ingredients. Of course, when we're making cake, we're gonna alternate between the dry and the wet ingredients to make our cake come together. Of course, one of the first parts to do before we do that is to cream the butter and sugar. So while I get this all mixed up here and get that lemon zest mixed in, I'm gonna get this started. I have a cup of butter here, that's 2 sticks, and I have 2 cups of sugar. And we wanna get this going for about 3 to 5 minutes or so. You want it to be light and fluffy. So we'll get that going and then go on to our next steps. Okay, we've had that going for several minutes. I'm gonna scrape down the sides here and then put in our next ingredients. Let's get the eggs in first. I'm gonna add them in kind of slowly, one at a time, even though I have them already all in here. It's just easier to crack them beforehand. Now I'm gonna put in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, measuring right in there. I'm gonna keep this for later. This is gonna be for the glaze, so just using 1 of those tablespoons. Gonna get this mixed up, and then we're gonna start to alternate our dry ingredients with the yogurt that we'll talk about in a second. Okay, now we are ready to put in our wet and dry ingredients to add to everything that we've got creamed so far. That lemon smells so great in there. We've got our flour mixture we sifted earlier. Now we're gonna put in our yogurt. So this is 8 ounces of Greek style yogurt, and you could use plain or vanilla. I'm doing vanilla. So I'm gonna put a couple of scoops of that in first. This is, like I said, 8 ounces. I found it a little bit hard to find a container that's 8 ounces. It's either bigger or smaller. So that's why I went with this one, because it was 8 ounces. So I'm gonna put a couple of scoops of this in, and then mix it up, and then put some flour until we're all done. And then we'll go to our final step. Well, if I didn't make a mess over here, woohoo. All right, so I wanna make sure I get all of this scraped off. We don't want to lose any of the lemon zest that I see hanging on there, because that is important to this. So the recipe calls for 12 ounces of strawberries. You probably have noticed that in the store they come in 16-ounce containers. So I just didn't use all of the strawberries. So I have a 1/4 cup of flour here that I'm going to toss in. And this, anytime you're putting fruit in a cake, you want to try to do this, because basically what happens is you coat the fruit with the flour, and then it kind of clings to the batter so that everything doesn't sink to the bottom. And of course, in this case, it would be sinking to the bottom, which would then become the top. And once I get these added and folded in, we'll add it to the Bundt pan and put it in the oven. Now, the key is to try to get this all in the pan. We'll see how well I do. Okay, so I'm gonna do this all around the pan and then spread out the top, and then we'll talk about how long we're gonna bake it. And we're gonna do something interesting to the oven, so give me 1 second. Okay, we are good to go in my incredibly messy kitchen right now. But that is why cooking and baking is fun, right? If you're not making a mess, you're not doing it right. So I made sure to spread it down so it'll cook evenly, so we have as flat a bottom as we can get. So as I mentioned, the oven is at 375 degrees, but we're gonna pop this in, and as soon as we do, we're gonna take the oven down to 325 degrees and bake it for 60 minutes or so until it's getting a little bit golden brown. And of course, the toothpick test. The toothpick should come out clean, and then we'll let it cool and go on to the final step. Okay, after more than an hour in the oven, the cake is ready to go. I'm not gonna lie, I forgot to do exactly what I told you to do and turn the oven down to 325 as soon as I put it in. So I was kind of wishy-washy about the time. I don't know how the middle is gonna turn out. but it looks good on top. Now I guess the next step is to see if it's going to come out of the Bundt pan okay. Let's see. I heard something. All right, it did it. Now that looks beautiful. So I measured out with the dry measuring cup 1 cup of powdered sugar. Just put it in here for ease of stirring. And then remember that lemon juice that we saved from earlier? We're gonna put about 2 tablespoons into this 1 cup of powdered sugar and mix it on up. And we'll add a little bit more lemon juice if we need to. We'll add more powdered sugar if we need to, just until we get the right consistency. You just wanna make sure that it's enough to drizzle and spread, but you don't want it to simply just melt off the side. That's also why we had the cake cool for a little bit as well. I'm gonna go just around the middle because it should ooze down the sides, each side. So pretty, so easy to do if you just put in the time for the prep work. There we go. And oh, I can smell that lemon now. It smells fantastic. Here we have, thanks to Tracy Townsend, fresh strawberry Bundt cake. Cheers.
Okay, meanwhile, I'm over here in agony. I'm hungry now. If you've got a picture of your own recipe to share or an idea for a future segment, you want to give your recipe to us, you can text us at 614-460-3345 or find Brittany on social media. And